Welcome to World Travel Market Africa 2026. We're talking about the future of nature seekers, travel, ecotourism and sustainability in the Western Cape. Welcome back to Green Noise, the CapeNature podcast about biodiversity, ecotourism, conservation and sustainability. My name is Dan Corder. I am the host of the long-running and now award finalist. This is actually our second special season. You would have heard our special season that we just released in early April about the devastating fires that damaged and destroyed so many swathes, hectares and acres of land that I adore and has been deeply personal and important to my family for longer than I've been alive, which is the Cedarburg. So if you already enjoyed that special season, we've got another one for you. This is the second part of a two-part special series from the World Travel Market Africa 2026 here at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. And we are here interviewing two more excellent people, as we did on the first episode, as we contemplate the Western Cape as a special travel destination for people, particularly a slow travel sanctuary. As usual, we're blessed with a wonderful person from the incredible CapeNature staff, this time from the Crack PR and digital team, Danielle Taute. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's an absolute treat to have you. And also someone who I've been told is a visionary tourism leader. That could go on your dating profile if you were single and looking to date, but I know that you're not. Bronwen Auret, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
And your official position is Chief Quality Assurance Officer at South African Tourism at the moment.
Correct.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Could you fill in for us a little bit about what that role entails?
It's quite interesting. So I'm responsible for the visitor experience for South Africa, and I head up ostensibly the Tourism Grading Council of South Africa, global trade, and something that we do call visitor experience and hosting. So it's really about all the consumer touch points along the line, making sure that we make people happy and we make people feel welcome, and we put the quality assurance in everyone's experience.
So I've also been told that you have over many years contributed to the way that we grade and evaluate how good a tourist travel experience is. And in my mind, I thought, does that mean that she was the one who went and ate at all of the different B&Bs and gave them 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 stars? Were you involved in that grading system or similar?
Yes. So the Tourism Grading Council of South Africa is the official legislated body for grading, putting the stars on the tourism experience. And we have 8 different categories, all from formal accommodations to the hotels that we know. We are now in the 5-star graded Cape Town Convention Centre.
Epic.
Yes, so we do all of that, and campsites and bed and breakfasts and all sorts of things. We're not afraid to grade it because, the visitor.
Do you have that on the departmental merch? Not afraid to grade.
Not afraid to grade. Really important to the customer experience. I always compare it to going to look at a Google review for food in my neighborhood, and I'm often wondering, when it's peer-to-peer, if it's my taste buds or the taste buds of my peers in my neighborhood that are a problem. But with official grading, we have certified, qualified assessors that certify an experience.
People whose taste buds are better than the rest of ours.
Yes, they've been trained. Absolutely.
That's so interesting. Now, Danielle, your work as part of the digital and PR team for CapeNature is, as far as I understand it, trying to sell one of the easiest things to sell on earth, but better than everybody else who's trying to sell that incredibly easy thing. It sounds like trying to sell water to a fish, but your water, not someone else's water. Is that right?
Yes, and it seems quite hard, hey? It seems quite hard, but these destinations, I tell you, they sell themselves. And all we have to do is just make people see the beauty in it.
I see. So we're particularly talking today, this is now season 5, including the special seasons of the CapeNature Green Noise podcast. So we've talked a lot about different kinds of travel experiences that CapeNature does, but this one is particularly, or part of this episode is about the Western Cape as a slow travel sanctuary. What does that mean to CapeNature?
I think that means that it's not just about going to places. It's not just about like how people would, club hopping. It's not about hopping around the Western Cape. It's about deeply experiencing these places and going beyond what you just see on social media. Experience it as a feeling instead of just like going for an activity.
It sounds like spending a lot more time in one place and really like getting all the riches out of it, right?
Absolutely. Grootvadersbosch is an ideal destination for slow travelers. And you can do anything from, bird watching, glamping, hiking. It's a really nice product for those looking to escape and slow down.
Okay, so there's a 2030 vision that a lot of people at WTM have been talking about. In the first episode of this two-part series, we spoke quite extensively about imagining the nature seeker in 2030 and what they are looking to get out of it. Bronwen, particularly since COVID, have you found, particularly for inbound travelers coming into South Africa from somewhere else, that they're looking for something different than many tourists were, even nature-seeking tourists, in as recently as, I guess, late 2019?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see how consumer behavior has changed. Going into 2019, the world was different. People were traveling, and then we suddenly stopped in 2020. I almost don't want to say why, but I think we all know, and that was quite a moment to pause. So consumers have fundamentally changed, and they have become a lot more aware. And like any great event, the pandemic did catalyze a shift of people making the changes that we knew were trends permanent. So, AI and things like in technology and streaming and that kind of thing accelerated, and so did consumer behavior in how they want to engage with nature and experience a country and a destination when they travel. So that has fundamentally changed, and people are exercising their right to have a slower experience. And fundamentally, we've gone from sort of a checklist kind of iconic tourism kind of culture.
Go on TripAdvisor and do the top 10 in the city. Yeah.
I think it's more now about niche and actually getting to know what's happening on the ground, understanding, in South Africa, understanding a part of the 3,000 kilometers of endemic coastline as an example, and we've got so much of it to share. So there is a move from a consumer perspective to experience more South Africa, and we've got so much of it to share.
Have you had to evolve what gets graded or quality assure evaluated with particularly new technology, but also new kinds of experiences, whether it be ziplining in this kind of place or a new kind of travel buggy that people can use, or whitewater rafting on a new kind of floaty, like rapid technological development and change in expectation?
So Dan, it's really exciting. We are imminently about to publish our updated grading criteria.
Oh, cool.
And it took us about almost a year to consult the entire tourism sector post-COVID to say, okay, what has changed? Because we do not sit in a dark room and determine what's important to the consumer.
I hope not.
No, not at all.
Particularly with tourism that is sun-based, sun-premised.
Exactly. So we consult the sector, we look at the data from the research. Responsible tourism and sustainability are fundamentally not a nice to have, they are part of what we are. And for South Africa, what is really exciting, it's about the inclusion of our communities and our natural heritage. So it's not about, just the conservation component, which is an important component. It's not just about how people use tourism or engage with tourism, using less water, being more energy efficient and that kind of thing, which it is really much for our northern hemisphere counterparts. But when it comes to South Africa, it is very much about leaving the area that you came to in a better condition. So engaging with the community, making sure that you have been sensitive culturally to the community, and that the product itself employs people from the community, and the respect for the natural environment. So quite a significant change there, and one that we can't wait to gazette and take out to the public. But the feedback is really, really clear. In South Africa, it's about understanding that continuum and what sustainable tourism means to us as South Africans.
Totally. I'm so interested by the concept of the 10-kilometer radius Obviously, the idea being that you're trying to get as much of an experience of borderline living in a place, right? Like if you're in Swellendam, for example, you have a hike on one day, you got a nature walk on another way, a Fynbos experience on another day. You're like spending time, if you're in and around Swellendam, in town. It feels like you're gleaning a lot more. You're also traveling way less, right, Danny? Like you're not like between towns every second day on the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Those type of experiences I think are top of mind, because not just are you like reducing your carbon footprint, you are fully exploring the community, the things, the leisure activities, and I mean that in essence is really good for that small town economy. Like you're supporting local businesses, you are literally saving someone from like making sure they have their job, and they're doing these things. And a lot of those small town people are passionate about what they do when it comes to tourism. I know a quote where people say, we don't do it for the money, we do it for the passion, and that is absolutely true. And to extend your stay in a town like Swellendam, where you basically explore the entire city, is it's very helpful to the economy and to those small businesses.
Yeah, it's funny because people often say whenever they go traveling anywhere in the world, we went one place and it didn't have everything. Like, it had like great hiking, but I wanted to sit in a coffee shop every second day and work remotely, or like, it had a great hotel, but there wasn't a nice restaurant to go to, a nice bar or a nice cinema or whatever. And what I always say to them is, well, if you want those things to exist, you need to spend longer there, and the other tourists do, to give potential business creators a reason to believe that there is going to be enough business for them to bother to open the business, right? Yeah. So if you're doing the 10-kilometer radius concept more and you're spending more time in a place like Swellendam, it's just more likely someone's going to open a coffee shop if everyone's staying there longer and living more of a normal life, or like a less departed into holiday experience life, I think. Does that make sense, Bronwen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely nodes of the country that are becoming far more explorable. We look at the Western Cape, you're seeing there's more adventure, not just from Cape Town, but into the outer skirts of the Western Cape. And I think that's really interesting from a domestic travel perspective. We have a lot of people who, particularly in the Western Cape, are good at making sure they get to the other more remote parts of the Western Cape. It's good for the tourism economy, and I think, given where we're at now, with the significant changes to the cost of jet fuel, it's a great opportunity for us to encourage slow travel, and I think it's something that we're going to see is going to become a domestic trend.
I agree.
More and more.
I agree. I'm also interested, I unfortunately come from that kind of family where our parents woke us up kicking and screaming at 4 a.m. on a Sunday, not for church, but for the other kind of church, which is a hike to the top of the mountain that we did not want to be at. And it was a large part of my therapy in high school. But in hindsight, I love hiking and walking now, and I'm glad that I was Stockholm Syndrome into that passion. No, but I do really love it. But like, one thing I've grown to know better is the deep enrichment of slow, quiet, mellow, better for the mental health kind of nature activities. Nature bathing is controversial. I don't know if you grade that, Bronwen. You got to make sure it's a very secluded pool, but people do like to do it. And if you go to Hogsback, there's the famous outdoor pool there, and you can do it with clothes on in a way that is acceptable. But that's a good example. Another one that I'm fascinated by is dark sky tourism. Like the richness that we all feel going outside at night when you can see stars and it is dark, and you suddenly realize that light pollution is a real thing. If you go to the Cedarburg, you stay in Algeria, I've done it many times, there are I can't say astrologers, astronomers, very important distinction, who will show you around the Milky Way. That again, slower, quieter, more measured tourism.
Absolutely. I think that is definitely, astrotourism is something that is definitely evolving.
Is that what it's called?
Astrotourism.
Okay.
And definitely something that we are developing and pioneering in Africa's dark sky sanctuary in the Northern Cape. And I think
of course.
It is something we really have to support from a tourism perspective, and the product is still developing, and I think you're going to see a different range of product developing. Everybody feels, I think, predominantly in city centres that we've got to be investing in big hotels, etc. But let me tell you, we've got some amazing product development happening. There are tented camps, pop-up camps that happen throughout South Africa. You name it, they'll set it up. You can go and have an amazing 5-star experience if you want to. Or you could just go to a regular campsite. So there's a lot of product range that we have in South Africa to accommodate slow travel, and I think that's what makes our country quite dynamic. We have the weather to be able to sustain that kind of capability.
Absolutely. Eco-pods is something that CapeNature has done a really good job of developing and are moving towards more in the future. Tell us about them.
Some of our reserves, Grootvadersbosch, have these eco cabins that are basically giving you that opportunity to be free in nature, have that feeling of not. It's it's not too much, it's more less. I love the saying of less is more. So you're not overpowered by connectivity, city life, all of that, and you can actually sink into nature and become part of the background and enjoy that wellness and calm type of approach to your travels.
Danny, tell me a little bit about the different ways that CapeNature is making more of an eco-friendly, eco-sustainable experience in different reserves, including places like Grootvadersbosch.
We've incorporated so many things that make you feel closer to nature. Examples that I'm thinking of are the eco-loos, to bring in that saving the water initiative, and as well as the plants on the roof to give natural ventilation. In Grootvadersbosch, we have the indigenous trees that even when you're hiking in extreme temperatures, that you have that natural coolant and experience. And there are so many that comes to mind. I think that you have to go and experience, and those that are very eco-conscious and sustainable conscious, they would really know that these are elements that will help us preserve and fully immerse ourselves in nature and to experience it to the full extent.
I'm always amazed that some of your guys' locations have got naturally built-in aircon. I just assume that aircon requires an aircon, right? It needs a machine to be able to cool down the space, but it does it anyway. It's so interesting. Something else that I found really interesting recently, that I've understood more recently, and I guess it's in a conversation about digital nomads, but not just international people coming here, but South Africans who can work online, who go and live in other places. A friend of mine is about to do 2 months down the south coast because as long as it's got Wi-Fi, he can work, is swell migration or something like that. Essentially the idea that you can go and live for months in a new place as a South African somewhere else, be a tourist but also a local, participate in that economy and all those local businesses while working anyway.
Being a digital nomad, making sure we have the visa regime that is open to it, does really bring a whole new dimension to travel and tourism, where people can live like a local, experience parts of the city, the town that they are in. I mean, there have been some people that have migrated not just to the Western Cape and to Cape Town, but to Swellendam.
I know.
And they are
moved offices there.
Moved offices, engaged in the global economy from the small town of Swellendam.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the beauty is post-COVID is the technology, the acceptance of working from any location, which is completely acceptable in most institutions, and I think it changes the dynamic quite substantially for a lot of people. And it's not just something for young people. I wanted to also open this side up. As an aging population, people are working much longer, and there are a couple of people who are now empty nesters who are also looking for that little bit of a taste of living and experiencing a different country. So it's quite interesting to see that migration happening, and I think it's a trend that's here to stay. And I think there's, along with the gig economy and that kind of working, where anybody can work from anywhere as long as there's an internet connection. And I think also coming back to grading criteria, internet connection is very important.
So important. Yeah, it's just a fascinating idea. I also remember similarly, so you were talking about how COVID caused us all to stop, and that was really bad for a lot of reasons, really bad for people's jobs and economy and money. But and I don't think there's a silver lining to a pandemic, but one potentially beneficial thing from the pandemic that we got was a reevaluation of life. And there's an interesting story coming out of the Eastern Cape about how many people moved to Jeffreys Bay during COVID, because it is 55 minutes from Gqeberha Drive, which is that's a local commute in Johannesburg, at least.
Yeah.
Like it's just to Stellenbosch from Cape Town, and many of them have not moved back. And more people are now decamping to Jeffreys Bay for like a small town experience, who are still working in Quebec, and not even as digital nomads, just for a 50-minute commute. And it's caused people to think more creatively, I think, about how they could potentially live their lives in different places, which is really exciting. So tell me a little bit about universal access. Tell me about CapeNature's push to make more of nature available and fun and exciting for elderly people and people who are disabled.
We have a senior citizen discount that it's 30% that runs all year. That gives our seniors the opportunity to live their golden years in nature, to slow down, to appreciate everything around them, to experience the calm and the peacefulness of nature with their families, with their friends. And CapeNature has made that possible for them all year round.
Amazing. And more kind of like general access for people with disabilities of various kinds, which is great. Oh, Bronwen, is this exciting WTM for you? Is it all the like-minded people getting together in one place? Particularly with the technological stuff, right? It's like, as I'm walking around here, this is my first ever WTM, there are more and more apps, there are more and more AI agents helping people. There's more and more imagining about how the 2030 CTICC could maybe have an AI app that can tell them, hey, you really shouldn't walk up that slope, your heart can't take that. Or maybe do that run because you're doing 5Ks a day and it's going well, and that run will be fine, but be careful, you got a dodgy ankle like me. It's like shifting sands in certain spots. It feels like a very hopeful, optimistic, imaginative time for South African tourism in this moment.
It really, really is. I think, the advent of AI and technology is a catalyst to what we already know. What I have great confidence in is that we all still have jobs, because tourism is a human being business. I have not been served breakfast by an AI bot yet. I don't think I ever will be, which is great, because I do quite like the smiley person that meets me in the morning and says, would you like a cappuccino?
Exactly.
So, I think it's really great to see that, there's a lot of advancement, but again, it's a catalyst to where we want to be, and I think particularly in the world of universal access.
Yes.
When we look at universal access and being able to map accessible properties. So we've got just under 150 accredited and certified universal access properties in South Africa, and it's not enough. I can tell you now, it's a multi-million rand business, and it's one that needs a lot of development and one that needs a lot more attention. The universal access economy is a couple of billion people around the world, and when you look at universal access, I mean, you were starting to speak about it, Danny, you start looking at people who are slightly older, you have people who have got children, and then you get into people with either mobility, vision, or hearing disabilities. And I think the use of artificial intelligence and technology, even within that, is quite exciting. And when we see properties that are adopting tools to engage with people with hearing disabilities, it just normalizes everything. And I think we all know somebody with a disability, and we forget how common it is. In everyone's nuclear family, you're bound to have one person who needs assistance. And when we can start adopting those kinds of technologies into our visitor experience, we have truly evolved our visitor experience with a smiling person at the end still.
Totally.
Technology's an aid.
Absolutely. I've recently been mind blown. I read a bunch of articles a couple of weeks ago about how mainly the luxury cruise liner business is for elderly people and for people with limited abilities. And so for some reason, the people on the seas have done a better job than the people on land of creating these extraordinary travel experiences for elder people and physically limited people in one way or another, to have these unbelievable worldwide, in some cases round the world travel adventures, these exoduses from their own lives. And it really has made me think, what could be done more on land in places like South Africa and the Western Cape and CapeNature properties to give people who've got as much time as the rest of us, as much excitement and imagination and passion, and have probably, particularly if they're older, watched way more Animal Planet than we have and Discovery Channel, and have some dreams about what to do. I mean, I was even thinking about, and I guess this is the core, is that in so many of these situations, like with the cruise liners, it is a business opportunity. It is ultimately a business and a money-making opportunity for tourism companies, I'd say, right? Rather than, we have to make this, even though it'll cost to do it, we have to retrofit our facilities to help people.
Yeah. And it feels, it's actually part of the visitor experience. One of our 5-star premium properties called Shamu Lodge, which is close to Hoedspruit. It's in Timbavati Game Reserve. It is only for universal access guests, and it's only got 4 little lodges or experience rooms. And sometimes they have travelers who come there who have a bath for the first time since their disability.
Wow.
Because they are fully kitted. Your little lookout points have got ramps that go up to look over the waterhole. Their safari trucks have got a little, not a little ramp, but it's actually a little extension that takes you from your wheelchair into the seat. And the whole experience is geared for people with disabilities. Now, as we normalize these things, you're going to see a whole segment of the market opening up. And I would say falling short from just people with mobility issues, visually impaired and hearing impaired individuals. Just the technology already exists. Being able to amplify that and being able to use the technology to help people along the way really just changes the visitor experience completely. And I think it's certainly an exciting time for South African tourism. When I got to the grading council, there were less than 100 graded universal access properties. Now we're pushing 150.
Amazing.
And we are really looking to evolve the space.
So exciting. And I mean, just to end, speaking about those imaginaries really just reminds people that when you go and spend money on a tourism company or in a neighborhood which has tourists in it, you yourself as a tourist, you are helping these different people have lives and have businesses. As you said, Danny, at the top of the show, have jobs, and that's so exciting. So to Bronwen and Danny, thank you so much. Nice to meet you both at the WTM 2026 Africa Expo at the CTICC. And thank you so much to you for watching and or listening to the second part of our special series at WTM Africa 2026.